Australian Bitcoin podcast, presented by HardBlock, Australia's first Bitcoin-only exchange.
Hello and welcome to Australian Bitcoin podcast. Today is the 12th of December and we'll be covering the latest Bitcoin news for the past fortnight. My name is Daniel and with me is Alex. How are you, Alex?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Dan. Good to be back. I think this fortnight we're celebrating the 100K milestone. How good?
Yeah, woo! Woo. I was gonna get like a party pop, I think, but I couldn't find it. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it already feels so long ago, and we've dipped back down as well. So, but we busted out the champagne. Well, at least I did. I don't know about you.
Okay, 100,000. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Like it's so crazy. Like getting to 1 million doesn't seem that far-fetched. Like when I got into Bitcoin, it was around $1,000. You know, when I first started kind of getting interested in it, and you know, like 100,000 from when you're at $1,000 or below $1,000, like 100,000 was just fantastical. Like at 100,000, getting to 1 million doesn't seem as far-fetched, to be honest, as like getting to 100,000. It's just amazing. But you know, like it's making history. But it's like a historic moment.
It was all over the news. Every news, every sort of news outlet, mainstream news outlet, ran a story on it. So you'd have to think that this stage is starting to enter the mainstream consciousness. The bull market's probably going to kick off proper as more and more people sort of hear about it, understand, engage with Bitcoin. Maybe most importantly, the last Twitter Spaces by Yellow. I don't know if you know about this, Dan. Do you know Yellow? Yellow, the Twitter guy, the guy on Twitter, Yellow. He's been hosting a Twitter Spaces every day, singing "Don't Stop Believing" since 2021. Everyone knows about it. It's kind of funny.
Okay.
He's finally been able to hold the last one, so it's done.
Okay. Cool. Anyway, since we're talking about price, I'll just give a bit of an update so where we are. So obviously, we're in US dollars. We're just above 100,000. 100,945 is what I'm seeing. So just above 100,000 US. So for the month, we're up 13% for the month. We're up 140% year to date. And over 1,290% over 5 years. That's pretty good. So, and you know, you said like entering, we're definitely in a bull market, and it's definitely getting like a very bullish atmosphere. I think it still feels like pretty reasonably early in the cycle, at the beginning of that kind of bullish cycle, but we're definitely in it. And one of the signs, for me at least, is that we're kind of in a bullish cycle. I had some people at kind of Bitcoin events talking that maybe this cycle is going to be different and there won't be a downturn.
Classic.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously everybody looking at the Bitcoin cycle, it's always kind of goes up and the mood gets very euphoric, and then it goes really high, and then like too high, and then it kind of crashes, and then there's the despair. But always, you know, like, I feel, to me at least, when people think like, oh, this time it's going to be different, there won't be like a bear market and it's going to keep on going up because of all these things, like, that to me is a sign of entering kind of bullish territory.
The euphoria zone.
The euphoria.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I'm just gonna like talk about like a little bit more about the price, since we're kind of in this moment. And like something I like to is like for just checking where we are in the cycle. It's very simple, but the Bitcoin rainbow chart, I will try and share it with you. I think a lot of people listening to it won't be able to see it, but I'll walk everybody through what we're talking about. Okay. So I'm just looking at the Bitcoin rainbow chart. Can you see it, Alex?
Yeah.
So, you know, anybody can just look at it. Like it's a simple method, but I think it's pretty effective just to have an idea of kind of where we are in the cycle. And because Bitcoin has been in many ways kind of predictable in its cycles going up and down, right? So this is like, you don't need to be a genius to look it up. Just Google Bitcoin rainbow chart and it will give you some idea. Okay, like looking at this, even though we crossed the $100,000 mark, like we're still, according to the Bitcoin rainbow chart, we're still kind of, it shows we're still pretty early in the cycle. We're still kind of in this green territory, which is kind of accumulate Bitcoin territory, right? And usually the cycles, they go like kind of higher into the kind of orange and red territory. So if we assume the next cycle, like the top of it will be somewhere kind of within the next year, then that would kind of mean if it goes. And one thing, if you're looking at the cycles, the past tops have been kind of lower, like than the previous ones. Like they've been less extreme. So let's say it kind of gets somewhere into the yellow zone at the top, yellow-orange zone. That would kind of mean a top of around 200,000, 250,000 US dollars. So I guess what I'm saying is like the takeaway here is it still feels like we're early in the cycle and it's $100,000, but I think it could potentially still double over the next year. I think that's kind of like a realistic scenario. But again, like it's hard to predict these things. They could be different. This isn't financial advice. I'm just talking about past patterns. But what do you make of that, Alex? How high do you think we could go?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it does. I agree. It does still feel early in the bull market, especially like I think it's really going to be driven by political forces this time. And the Trump presidency hasn't even started yet. Like obviously they're announcing cabinet picks and I don't know about cabinet picks, but like you'd call it, announcing their picks for the different department heads and that kind of thing. But I think we're just in a bit of it feels like we've hit that 100K mark. We're kind of in a bit of a lull until whenever the inauguration is for the US president, and then I think then we'll see just how impactful it's going to be, and I think that'll really define quite a bit of the sort of the rest of the cycle.
Yeah, and there's been like just very positive news coming out of the US. Like I have this kind of very cynical, skeptical approach. It's almost like too good to be true, and it's like, is this a trap? But it seems to be real, and a lot of positive things coming out of people like the Trump administration regarding Bitcoin. So I'll just mention some of the things that happened in the past 2 weeks. So Eric Trump, Trump's son, was at a Bitcoin event in Abu Dhabi. So one thing, first he predicted that Bitcoin will reach $1 million per Bitcoin someday. So he's very bullish on Bitcoin. But he was interviewed about Bitcoin, and he really, like, I'm not sure if you saw it, there's a short Twitter clip, but he sounded like a Bitcoiner from a Bitcoin meetup. Like, he's been completely orange pill. He was explaining why Bitcoin has many advantages as investment over real estate. And he just talked about, how it's like much more liquid. Anybody can do it, like easier to get into. You don't need huge amounts of sums. You can carry it around. I mean, he sounded like just somebody, like anybody, like orange, like a Bitcoin fanatic at a Bitcoin bush bash. He would have fit right in. Like, so, that was very, very bullish, like seeing him talk like that. And so again, another thing from the US. So Jeremy Powell, which is he's the federal chair of the central bank in the United States, and he said that
Bitcoin's gold. Bitcoin is digital gold.
Yeah, Bitcoin's digital gold. Yeah. He said it's not a competitor to US dollar; it's a competitor to gold, and So it's, I'm not sure if that's completely true, if I completely agree with him, but anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like pro
It's a
Bitcoin.
good, it's a Bitcoin talking point from the it's been fed to them. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
good.
basically, like, he wasn't against like Bitcoin. He was pro Bitcoin, so it's good. Like, so some kind of coming from the central bank, Jeremy Powell, like being like pro Bitcoin, whatever. It's good news, right? Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So again,
Well,
yeah,
he wasn't pro Bitcoin, but I think he just didn't view Bitcoin as a threat,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
he reiterated some of the narratives around Bitcoin as digital gold, which is like it's
Mm.
almost like it's like a pseudo endorsement. Like
Yeah,
he clearly caveated it, but at the same time like when you adopt your opponent's framing, you've already lost.
yeah,
Like this is what I say. Like when the a lot of the or like for example Austrac regulations or whatever, or they're talking about regulating Bitcoin in Australia, they're using the word fiat, and it's
yeah.
like okay, when you've adopted Bitcoin as framing, like you've already it's so embedded in the culture that you've already lost the important war, which is the battle for ideas. Everything else follows afterwards.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I think next on our agenda should be to get them to start using the term legacy currency for dollars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Legacy currency.
yeah. Yeah. That's
That's
a great word, isn't it? Legacy. Yeah.
uh, yeah. But okay, so other like pro Bitcoin stuff coming out of the Trump administration. So Trump appointed David Sachs as White House
The
AI
crypto
and
czar.
crypto tsar. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
crypto tsar will be tasked with reshaping US policy on digital currencies and AI, and he'll be working on the newly created Crypto Advisory Council. So David Sachs, he's like a Silicon Valley startup guy, an investor.
Yeah.
Um, I think he got his start with PayPal. So he's like very pro tech, pro innovation, open to technology. He's not like a hardcore Bitcoiner, but he's pro
No,
like innovation.
he's definitely more on the
Yeah,
shitcoiner side. And he's like he's one of the members of the All In podcast who notoriously dump shitcoins on there. Well, with Shamath, like this is it's below my line. He's mates with all those guys, but they're very wealthy venture capitalists. They're definitely the sort that are going to claim they've been huge Bitcoin bulls their whole life. The second that we're in the middle of the bull market. But at the same time, his incentives are also quite good. Like he's one of the bigger investors in Lightning Labs, which is, that's one of our Bitcoin Lightning implementations. So they do L&D, which is the biggest Lightning implementation. So yeah, they do actually have investments in like proper Bitcoin companies, which means that maybe their incentives are quite good for promoting Bitcoin versus shitcoin. We'll see.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if he doesn't like, as long as it's an open market, I think as long as Bitcoin is not held
Yeah.
back, I think
Yeah.
Bitcoin will succeed. So, and
Yeah.
I don't think he's somebody who wants to hold Bitcoin back. He wants to support innovation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
good, and that's really good news.
The other thing
Again,
I saw is
yeah,
that also as the AI and crypto czar, it may effectively just morph into being the nuclear power czar, like because like
oh
both
yeah,
those
yeah, the
industries are going to
energy
be
tsar,
pushing
yeah,
for energy, like and massive energy
yeah,
use. So he
yeah.
might end up being like a massive catalyst for, um, I guess like expansion of nuclear in the US. Yeah.
Yeah, and so again, and so that's already a few positive things just in the last fortnight. But another one is so Trump. I'm just going to read this from Bitcoin Magazine. So Trump appointed Paul Atkins as SEC chair. President-elect Donald Trump announced plans to nominate Paul Atkins, a former SEC commissioner and Bitcoin advocate. As SEC chairman, Atkins supports market innovation and minimal regulation, contrasting with the outgoing SEC chair Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler was somebody we didn't like. So I don't know. I've never heard of Paul Atkins, but what at least it says that he's like pro Bitcoin. Um, so that's correct. That's also another very positive development.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if we had covered it last time or if it happened at that point, but he also appointed as the Secretary of Commerce, the head of Cantor Fitzgerald. I can't remember why his name's escaping me right now, but the other major bank is for Tether. Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick is so he's been appointed as the Secretary of Commerce as well, which is another extremely bullish appointment for Bitcoin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all very good news. But yes, that's kind of all I have kind of from the US.
I've got more US news.
Okay,
there's more. There's even more bullish US news. Well, actually, maybe this one's not bullish, but it's kind of interesting. The first one is that Michael Saylor pitched Bitcoin as a treasury holding to the Microsoft shareholders. So it's kind of a good presentation. He squeezed it all into 3 minutes, something like 60 or 70 slides or something. He was just like clicking through. Very good. It was quite interesting to watch. And then this morning or in the last day or so, they've actually voted. So the Microsoft shareholders have voted. 0.5% of Microsoft shareholders voted to put Bitcoin in the balance sheet. So that still gives you an inkling of how early we are in the cycle. But even outside of the cycle, like within just the wider adoption of Bitcoin, the fact that people who are investing in Microsoft, who are clearly investing in a technology company, so you'd like to think they were at least somewhat, they're probably more technology aligned than the average person, even as investors. Even only 0.5% of them recognize that Bitcoin is useful to put on Microsoft's balance sheet. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Still very early.
And why? But and why Microsoft voted not to do it? Like there were, as I was compiling the news for this episode, like there were many instances of other companies adding Bitcoin onto their balance sheet. I didn't put in the news because it was just like too many.
It's too much.
But there's many of them like accumulating and putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. I had also apparently Amazon shareholders are pressuring the board to avoid on it. So some people, some Amazon shareholders want it. So there's plenty of companies who are doing it, and I think more and more will. And Mike Kusala is big kind of advocate of that.
Yeah. Well, then I got one more bit of US-based news, which is that MicroStrategy has been added to the Nasdaq 100, which is like a Nasdaq 100. It's obviously tracks like the biggest 100 companies it's like a passive tracker of the biggest companies on the Nasdaq. MicroStrategy has been added. There's like certain criteria you need to meet before you can be added, and they've been added, which means that this playbook that MicroStrategy has been playing, where Michael Saylor basically prints new shares of MicroStrategy, sells them on the market, and then uses them to buy Bitcoin, or he offers convertible notes, or issues debt. That's about to get ramped up even more, basically, because now just by being part of this Nasdaq 100 is one of the biggest companies. They just as their price increases, they get more money allocated to them. So the flywheel effect is about to get even more silly, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I also have one other item from the US, and after that we can leave the US behind. I promise you guys. But I've got kind of a neutral kind of event. So basically. And this kind of contrasts to the previous kind of regime, I guess, administration in the United States, how they went quite as pro-Bitcoin as the incoming administration. But so there's some documents reviewed about Operation Choke Point, basically, which was, and it's been some documents reviewed that the US government was actually pressuring banks, like US regulators were pressuring banks to debank crypto industry. So this is from No Bullshit Bitcoin, so I'll just read some of this. Okay. So more documents on Operation Choke Point version 2. According to Coinbase, recently reviewed heavily redacted FDIC letters sent to banks in 2022 urged them to sever ties with crypto firms due to concerns about risk management, fraud, consumer protection, and financial stability, aiming to stifle the growth of digital assets. The letters show that Operation Choke Point 2.0 wasn't just some crypto conspiracy theory. FDIC is still hiding behind why overbroad restrictions, and they still haven't produced more than a fraction of them. But we finally got the pause letters. So basically, yeah, it's been revealed that the regulators were pressuring banks to debank digital currency industry, and in Australia we also have problem with debanking. Um, I don't know. It's mostly everybody says that it's banks privately making the decision. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But
Yeah,
banking
yeah,
is
just
a
like
yeah,
how Facebook was privately censoring through COVID. Like that was all 100% private
yeah,
Facebook. Like there was definitely no regulatory or intelligence
yeah,
agency involvement. Yeah,
yeah,
it's very
yeah, yeah.
clear.
Yeah. I mean, well, look, I
Yeah,
don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know. But it
yeah,
seems at least in the United States there was government involvement. I don't know
yeah,
what's the case in Australia.
yeah. Mm. Cool. All right. What else have I got? Well, maybe some Australian news. So we had Bush Bash. Bush Bash was excellent 2 weekends ago. It's a great town. It's about 100 attendees. Lots of excellent speakers. Yeah, I think everyone had a really great time. Some of my highlights: there was a huge. We showed up in the town, and in the park where we were hosting the event, there was a giant orange astronaut statue. To which, yeah, do you see that?
I didn't actually miss that. Oh, that's
Ah,
awesome.
yeah, it's
Well,
pretty good. I got a photo of it. Yeah, to which yeah, someone threw it in the chat and said, there are no coincidences." Um, the statue was supposedly
it's a
related to
sign from
Parks'
Satoshi.
involvement. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The statue was relating to the involvement. Parks has an observatory, like a pretty famous dish, and they're involved in like the space missions in terms of relaying information. Um, and there, what else? Oh, there was a huge mural. Do you see the huge mural of the ostrich
No, I didn't. I
on the
missed that
wall?
also.
Oh, there's a huge mural on like the entire side of a huge building. There's like a big purple ostrich, and it was like very very reminiscent of like the Nostan ostrich as well. So it's definitely a Bitcoin town. There was a cafe. There was a cafe that had the Bitcoin accepted here sticker. Like they were Bitcoiners. They didn't even know we were coming. Um, so they had a huge weekend once because I tried calling all the local pubs to get them to accept Bitcoin for the event, and there was zero interest. Like like a couple of people would like listen to me out, they'd hear me out over the phone, and they'd be like, "Oh no, we don't think so." Some people were just flat out saying, "No, no interest at all." Even when I was telling them, like potentially we'd have 100 people coming in and spending big at the pub all weekend. There's just zero interest, which is so shows how early it is in regional Australia. Um, yeah, what else? Oh, I got JP's opening remarks, which is that was firstly JP crushed it with his intro, but I wrote it down at the time, which is JP's quote: "I for one, sorry, what did he say? I don't know about you guys, but I for one plan to be absolutely insufferable this Christmas."
Yeah,
I think that captures the sentiment
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
perfectly.
he was not an advocate of being modest, and he about rubbing
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
people who kind of went
The doubters, his
the
doubters.
doubters of Bitcoin. Some people advocate for being modest, but he had the opposite approach
Yeah, yeah,
of rubbing it in the face. Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, and
that
then
was
my
funny.
final highlight is that I'm up again in Bitcoin poker. So I've
Oh,
taken sats again from Killer 2 years in a row. So Killer likes his poker, and I've managed to take sats from him twice. So
yeah.
yeah, that's my highlight. The next event is in Beechworth, and it's in the end of March, weekend March of 28th and 30th of March. If you're interested, free event. So put it down. Um, think about coming along.
Yeah. It was a great event. Actually, I thought it was one of the best bush bashes I've been to. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the dish. Like I was there, I was hoping to
Yeah,
see the dish, so I have to go next time. Next time
that
I'll
was
try
really good.
and
Yeah,
fit in. Yeah. I guess it was like pretty packed, and we were always doing something, so I didn't get a chance.
yeah. I went on the Monday afterwards before heading home. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good event with some good talks. Yeah, it was cool. Like the guys from Frost Snaps seeing their hardware. Like, do they have a name for that hardware wallet?
Yeah, it's
But the
FrostSnap.
Frost Snap,
That's
that's the
it.
name of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
hardware wallet. Okay,
Name of
so
the company and the
yeah,
device. Yeah.
yeah. So very kind of done a preview of it's like a hardware wallet that's going to be developed by a local team from Australia, and it's got some kind of pretty cool new features. So it was interesting to kind of see that. It's like a pretty cool project, and with some other people, doing some interesting stuff, some interesting talks. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Okay. I'll move on to some other news from some other places. So
Well, I've
okay.
got
Yeah.
another
Okay.
pretty big one,
Going.
which is talk from, I guess, Bitcoin talk from Russia. So there was a clip circulating of Putin basically saying that he believed Bitcoin to be unstoppable. And then, in addition, just recently, both of these were this week, I think, but yesterday or the day before, there's been a proposal in Russia to add Bitcoin to the country's national reserves, and that was from Anton. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's a state Duma member from the New People's Party.
Yeah.
Um, so that's quite interesting. So we're starting to see like this setup for nation state competition, whether it's this cycle or next cycle. But things are definitely heating up in that arena. The game theory that people have been talking about for decades at this point is really starting to. We're seeing the early signs of the setup for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I actually had that on my news items also.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like good because I guess there was some kind of one theory was that if the national governments will not allow Bitcoin and they'll crack down of it, and that's kind of one way people are afraid things could go. But it's looking actually the other way that's going to happen the other way, which is there'll be like kind of a competition between nations on who can adopt Bitcoin first or
yeah,
kind of benefit the most, which is a very positive development. Yeah,
yeah,
so I've got this on my news item, like I said, and so I'll just read some sections from it. So it says, this is quoting from the document. So I ask you, so okay, the guy, it was a submission proposal to the Russian finance minister. And basically it was to create a Bitcoin reserve where Russia would hold Bitcoin as a reserve currency. The same way all governments hold, like they hold different currencies from like a reserve
yeah,
asset. So
yeah,
they hold like euros and Chinese yen and some. Most governments hold like a bit of different currencies and some gold and whatever. So if they hold these assets and the the proposal was to among those different basket of currencies that they hold to also hold Bitcoin, which makes sense. So yeah, I'll read from it. So I ask you, the Anton Germanovich, to assess the feasibility of creating a strategic reserve of Bitcoin in Russia by analogy with state reserves in traditional currencies. In conditions of limited access to traditional international payment systems for countries under sanctions, cryptocurrencies are becoming virtually the only instrument for international trade. The Central Bank of Russia is already preparing to launch an experiment in cross-border settlement in cryptocurrency. So yeah, that's ending the quote now. So yeah, it's pretty positive.
Mm. Got another bit of nation state news actually, which is the Czech Republic has eliminated capital gains tax on long term holdings. So it's time to plan a trip to Eastern Europe. Go check out some old castles, beautiful architecture, Prague. Um, because they've managed to pass legislation, and from what I read, every single MP voted for it. It was unanimous. It was passed unanimously, and so if you've held Bitcoin for more than 3 years, it's now exempted from capital gains tax. I think something that's sort of interesting to note alongside that is that Prague actually has a very active Bitcoin scene. So these things don't come out of nowhere. The Trezor is based in Prague. Well, I don't know if they're based in Prague, but they're based in the Czech Republic. Um, there's a pretty heavy developer community, especially around things like gaming in the Czech Republic. So these things don't come from nowhere. We've got to build the communities and build the broad base of public support to get these kinds of policies through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's can we have that in Australia, please? I guess
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
going to happen though. But
Well, it could.
yeah,
It could if we build it.
maybe, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but it doesn't come from nowhere.
yeah. But yeah, that's good for people living in Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of all the news I have for today. Is there anything else you have, Alex, or should we finish?
Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I had one more, which is that Coinbase is they're getting a little heat at the moment because I've made a public statement requesting people not to use VPNs or ad blockers. Essentially, it's just funny because Coinbase is complaining about debanking, and then they turn around and do the exact same things. They don't want people to use Tor or VPNs or have any degree of privacy using their service.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
just
yeah,
a bit of egg on face for them. But
Yeah, I get it because I sort of get it because I guess if there's fraud or scammers, they could be using VPNs, but legitimate people also use VPNs. Like it's a legitimate right to privacy. So
yeah.
it's I can say if somebody uses VPNs on HardBlock, they don't get blocked. You can use HardBlock. We don't block people for using VPNs. But yeah, okay. Well, I think we can finish for today, and thanks for joining me, Alex, and see you everyone at home. I hope you enjoyed it, and talk to you next time.
We might not get another one in before the end of the year.
Yeah, that's right. We might skip.
Merry Christmas. Have a good break, everyone. We'll see you in the new
Merry
year,
Christmas,
probably.
Happy New Year, and Bitcoin to 1 million. That's our next target. So if we hit 100,000, the next target, the next kind of big milestone is
laser eyes
Bitcoin at 1 million.
on.
Yeah. Now that's where we're focusing our laser eyes. Bitcoin on $1 million. What's your prediction? When do you think we'll get Bitcoin for $1 million? Which year?
$1 million. Well, I think at this point it's a political animal. Like it could literally happen in this cycle. It could. I don't think it won't. I don't think it'll hold $1 million. But I could see it topping $1 million if things get very exciting geopolitically.
But just not holding, but just getting to it, just hitting 1 million.
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I could see it happening. I could see it happening this cycle.
Okay.
I could see it happening this cycle. But it's at the point now. It's like a decision in the hands of a small group of players. Like it's not like it's a few people in very powerful positions that can sort of chart that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll make a guess, and this is just a very rough guess, but my guess, I will say in 8 years. So maybe not as fast as people think, but my guess would be 8 years. 8 years for 1 million.
8 years. Well, without drawing this out too much further after we say goodbye,
sure.
You reckon that we're going to? You pulled out your rainbow chart before, and you reckon we're going to 300,000, and then you reckon we're going to go through 2 cycles before making $1 million.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, again, this is just this isn't just well, it's more than just a feeling, but it's not some kind of very I haven't done hardcore calculations of it. But
it's not a reason.
Well, okay, yeah.
You're just gonna
maybe
I'll
reduce it. Maybe I'm looking at it. Maybe I'll reduce it to 6 years. Maybe 6 years. But I guess my theory about it is.
I think it's reasonably likely that next cycle we hit $1 million.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I guess. Okay. I'll revise it. So maybe next cycle. So 4 or 5 years to hit $1 million, but to stay kind of consistently above $1 million. So okay, I'll say
another cycle again.
5 years to hit $1 million. 5 years to hit $1 million, and to stay consistently above $1 million. I'll give it 10 years. So I'll do that.
Yeah,
5 years to hit $1 million and 10 years to stay above it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I would say my theory is that, obviously, as Bitcoin gets bigger, kind of the rises, it does become more volatile and less volatile, and the increases kind of, they're still big, but they're not as big as kind of in previous cycles. So that's kind of my theory. About that, going from $100,000 to $1 million, that's a huge amount of finance, money that needs to come in, from the world economy. We're talking about, if it's $1 million, that's one of the kind of biggest financial assets in the world. I think we're still below gold right now. We'd be way above gold.
In
in value. That's at $1
I
million.
think it's pretty much gold
that's-
parity. Like gold parity is like 800,000 or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. So yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
just
it's
above
close,
gold.
yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
you know, that's a lot of kind of capital. That's like very, yeah, serious business.
Well, there you go.
So,
You got everyone got a little bonus Christmas speculation
yeah,
there.
yeah. But you know, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
speculation. I don't know. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, bonus speculation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Australian Bitcoin podcast, presented by HardBlock, Australia's first Bitcoin-only exchange.